crux of this thing. Let's talk about what's happening there at the U.S. Supreme Court. People are gathering to remember Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yeah, and Rick, as you were just tossing to us, we heard a round of applause. People here, this is a very somber scene. As I walked up to the High Court, I could see, cars stop, people taking photos, hundreds of people really just out here trying to pay their respects. It's an emotional scene out here. I've seen people crying, people hugging, and you also have to remember this is in the midst of a pandemic. So lots of people in masks here. I've seen some who are not wearing masks, but this is the reality. A lot of people are out here paying their respects. We've seen people with flowers, and people are paying tribute. It kind of sounds like a few minutes ago when I was over there, different people were speaking, talking about all of Ruth Bader Ginsburg's decisions and some of her very important points that she's made. So this is altogether, a very emotional scene out here. And, as you've seen here, this happened just a few hours ago, and we've already seen massive crowds. And we can only expect to see many people continue gathering. And as you mentioned earlier, Rick, this is going to be a huge political fight. We saw this, just 4 years ago with Antonin Scalia passing away. I was a reporter up here, and it was very political. McConnell said that he wanted to listen to the voice of the people, and he didn't want to move forward with a Supreme Court nomination. And now we are in the same circumstance once again ahead of a major election. The Senate Majority Leader has said that he is committed to bringing a vote for the president's nominee to the floor of the U.S. Senate. As we know, the election is 46 days away. This is going to be we'll see if it's going to be able to be a fast process. I think the best bet that we could see is it could be in a lame duck session. So, obviously a lot has changed in the last few hours, and the balance of the High Court really in question right now, Rick.
Samantha-Jo, I talked with Professor Jeffrey Schwartz. He's a constitutional law expert. And one of the things that he said to me is he didn't think there was any way that the Republican senators were going to go along with trying to force through a Supreme Court nominee before the election. They're out campaigning. They don't want to make this the absolute biggest thing out on the campaign trail. And he just didn't think there was going to be the appetite for trying to get anything done at all until after the election, and we know who the next president is going to be. If President Trump wins re-election, then yes, they'd probably try to go forward if it was all settled. But if Joe Biden wins, I can't see Republicans trying to force something through, before Joe Biden becomes the president.
It really does remain to be seen. Right now, we have already heard from a few Republican senators who have already said that they want to wait until the election before they move forward with a new nominee. We heard that from Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. That's a senator who has been a moderate and who really has been a strong voice among Republicans. But you also have to remember, there's a lot of Republicans right now who are in very tight races, like Susan Collins, Joni Ernst. So it's going to be very interesting to see some of these very vulnerable Republicans and see how they would like to move forward with this nomination, Rick.
The president put out a list of his favorite Supreme Court nominees just a little while ago. He was making a big deal about the fact that if you vote for him, you know who his potential Supreme Court picks are. It would seem now, even though we may not get an actual nominee until after the election, there's probably going to be some extra pressure now on Joe Biden to start talking about the type of Supreme Court justice that he might nominate.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're going to be hearing that in the next couple of days. Joe Biden is going to have to make it clear who he may intend to nominate. And I think this has really become a big part of the election right now. This is not something that we have heard too much about beyond the president naming those potential nominees. And now this may be the center point of this election. So we're going to have to wait and see in the days to come. But yeah, I think you can expect to see this Supreme Court fight really become a major point of this election moving forward.
All right, Samantha-Jo, thank you so much for joining us from the U.S. Supreme Court this evening. Of course, we're going to continue to follow this breaking story this evening, and coming up at the top of the hour, Spectrum BN9's Trevor Pettiford is going to be talking to some folks from the Stetson School of Law here in the Bay Area who actually have a real history with Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Now, coming up on